Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. I hope you're doing all okay. Joined with me today, one of the faces of NFL UK, Nat Coombs, joining us, contributor to Sky Sports, The Times Sports, BBC Sports, and of course, the Nat Coombs Show as well. Nat, thank you for joining us today. It's been a remarkable off-season so far, a great free agency, a great draft that we're only just out of, really, and now to the long summer before the season kicks off again in September.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks, Freddie. It has been. I mean, this year, this off season maybe has been the most frenetic I can remember. For years now, we've been talking about the NFL, how the NFL is getting shrewder and shrewder at making it a 365 league, and stealth moves in terms of when they put free agency, the combine, the draft, and all these milestones that keep you talking. But it really helps when you have the kind of action and flurry of activity that we've seen, I guess, in particular free agency and teams that are just following the all-in maneuvers of the Rams. I remember we chatted about this on the Super Bowl show, right? It was a question, inevitable question I was going to ask OC and J-Bell and FA. It's a copycat league. Is everyone going to do the same thing? And I remember OC at the time was saying, "Oh, I'm not so sure. I think this is quite a unique situation or distinctive situation for the Rams." And then everyone's piling. OC's on my show tomorrow, so I'm going to remind him of that.
Oh yeah, definitely, sure.
I'll probably lead with that, I think.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's crazy that NFL is one of the only sports in the world where we get all excited about the schedule being released. Like they just put everything into it. Which obviously a big part of that is obviously for us being the UK fans that we are, is the international series, which the fixtures were released the other day on Sunday, October 2nd at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They've got two games this year. They've got the Minnesota Vikings against the New Orleans Saints. And on Sunday, October 9th, they have the New York Giants against the Green Bay Packers. Then over to Wembley on Sunday, October 30th. So we've got a couple of week gap this time, so you can save a bit more money, because it does get quite hard when they become week on week for the general. But then we've got the Denver Broncos going against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk about the other ones in Mexico and Munich very soon. Very happy to see the NFL UK back now. And fortunately for two of our hosts, Andrew and Adam, one is a Green Bay Pack fan and one is a New York Giant fan. And we've been suspecting for a while that the Giants and Packers were going to play. But the big problem we've had is, well, I say problem, it's not a problem, but Andrew's wedding is on Sunday, October 2nd. Luckily.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's the week before, right?
Oh, so with the whole build-up, we've been sort of joking about what if it is on your wedding day, like what were you going to do? But luckily, it's
what was he going to do? What was his decision going to be? I mean,
his decision was, I think his decision was going to be marry the bride.
A wise choice, but he had to think about it. The fact he had to think about it is going to get him in hot water. Like the moment his fiance. So what's the name of his fiance?
Sophie.
The moment Sophie hears that it's even a question, it's even a consideration, you've already lost that one. So I think you absolutely made the right call. Are they going to have an NFL themed wedding?
I don't believe so. I believe again that's the ball is firmly in Sophie's court for that one. But that won't be the case. However, we said we will we'll have a TV on later in the day. I'm sure around what 2:30 kickoffs are. That's what photo taking time,
Yeah, exactly. People are already pretty slammed by that point. I was best man at a wedding the year that West Ham fan made the FA Cup final, which as we've established since that point, haven't made a major final since. And I did the right thing, of course. And the wedding was actually on the Sunday, right? But we had to travel up there, so I ended up watching that game in a pub full of Liverpool fans, and me and there were actually two best men. We'll go way back to school. So me, the groom, and the other best man they're not West Ham fans, but they supported West Ham for the day. We were the only Hammers in there, and of course ended in absolute heartbreak. So that is the kind of similar memory I've got there. I think in weighing it all up, I think it's the right call to do, and to put the football on, around about 2:30, 3 o'clock, perfect. Yeah, everybody's a little bit tipsy by then. They'll get away with it. You'll be fine. You'll be able to watch most of it.
Of course, that was the Steven Gerrard 30-yard final. I remember.
Oh boy. You see, it's the hope that kills you, Freddie. It's the hope that kills you. We were up twice. We were up 2-0 in that one. Then we were 3-2 up. But the moment it goes to a penalty, I think being the trifecta of West Ham, England, and Miami. Being a fan of those three teams, I mean, God, I couldn't have. I mean, I love it, but I couldn't have picked an unluckier combination, I think.
Well, again, as we look towards the international series, the Vikings, the Saints, that's going to be a heck of a game. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's going to be at this Tottenham Stadium, as well as a plethora of great defensive players for the New Orleans Saints, as well as the New York Giants coming over with Daniel Jones in a make it or break it year. But again, with two first-round picks in Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, we'll get to see showcased. Green Packers, Devontae Adams, but we still will see Aaron Rodgers throw into such players as Christian Watson. So that should be fun enough. Of course, we go to Wembley, where Russell Wilson in the orange is going to be with the Denver Broncos, and gets the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we saw last year as well with Trevor Lawrence. Three really great games this year, Nat. I don't want to put you in the position of going the last year's games were maybe not as big as maybe the UK fans would have hoped. However, I think that the teams who are coming over this year, and also the moves that they've made in free agency, I mean, feels like a lot more exciting year, and it's just been so successful at Tottenham so far. I mean, the stadium is just...
It is terrific, and you do really, if listeners out there that haven't had the opportunity to get to a game there yet, the main distinction I would suggest, which is true and logical connection with the newest stadiums in the US, and I've been lucky enough to do some Super Bowls out there at, say, Atlanta's stadium or Minnesota's stadium. The acoustics, I think, are certainly a big part of the difference, as well as just the proportions and and therefore the combination of those things and the overall impact that has on the experience. Remember, OC said actually that after the first one, it feels like a playoff atmosphere, that kind of intensity that is engendered by the crowd. And a combination of those things really helps. So yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable, and it pains me to say it as a West Ham, fan, but I tip my hat to Tottenham. It is an unbelievable facility for sure, and I cannot wait. I mean, it's some really interesting games. I'm big on the Saints. I don't know about you, Freddie, but I think they could be. Are we allowed to call the Saints a sleeper pick? I don't know, but I feel that they are a team that are quietly going about their business. You say they've picked up some really strong defensive pieces. I think their offense post Peyton is going to be intriguing to watch and better than a lot of people expect. I think James could have a really surprisingly good year. You've got, if everything chimes on that side as well, which it quite conceivably could, look at who they've got on that depth chart. I think they could be a sneaky deep playoff run in waiting, the Saints. In terms of the Giants, you're right, that's fascinating. The Danny Dimes, is anyone still calling him Danny Dimes? Can we clarify? clarify that? But I think
he's only worth dimes these days now. That's the problem.
Exactly. What is that? Oh, poor Danny. I mean, I like that business from the when we're going to talk draft in a minute, but I like everyone in the world, it seems, like what the Giants have done in the draft. But just generally, I like the fact that they've backed him for one more season. In the context of the draft, it was slim pickings, as we all know, with the quarterback class, the free agency market. Sure, yeah, maybe they could go Garoppolo, maybe Baker. Like that represent a significant enough upgrade given the investment they've already put in to him. And I like the fact they're backing him. This is what the Bills did in a roundabout way with Josh Allen. Now, I'm not suggesting that Daniel Jones can go on to become the player that Josh Allen has, but it's the principle of giving quarterbacks time to deliver and not assuming or insisting that they're going to be instant or near enough instant successes in the NFL, particularly in an organization like the Giants, terrific organization built on remarkable history and great success, but they have been stinking the joint out for the last few years. Saquon's been injured a lot. I mean, what terrible offensive line. I mean, I think it's the right play to give him another shot, and I think he could surprise us too. So those are my kind of two collective and individual surprises, early surprises of the season.
I think it's a win-win situation with Daniel Jones over there for the Giants, because he doesn't get off of the fifth year. They don't pick up the fifth-year option. He then performs this year to a high level on a prove-it sort of year. Then they've got a cracking quarterback. And now with the Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll over there, the Bills scenario that they've been working so hard to create in Buffalo, they're going to bring it to New York. And if Daniel Jones doesn't hit that parameter that they want him to hit, they go into the draft next year with two very good quarterbacks that they could definitely keep their eye on. So I think it's win-win here for the Giants. I think they they've not been, with quarterbacks like this, you sometimes feel like you get pushed into a corner with it, but I feel like they are, well, we're not in a corner because we've got two very feasible options. We don't play well. We've got a target of two great quarterbacks in the next draft, or we get the diamond out of the coal from Daniel Jones. So it's a win-win there for him. With the Saints, Jameis Winston, look, he can play. Like, there was turnover problems in Tampa, but that Tampa team was very good. It did not change that much when Tom Brady got there. It just showed Tom Brady's class more than anything. The Saints have rode with great defense for a long time, and it gets forgotten about every single year how good a defense they have.
Right.
And they don't change much. They don't have that many coming in and out. Obviously, they've had a huge change recently in Sean Payton and Drew Brees going. And then offensively wise, Chris Olave, great picking draft, like I said, we'll talk about Jeff in a minute. But we forget 2 years ago, Michael Thomas was one of the top receiver in the NFL.
Right.
And I don't think he's not gone away. He just had a bad injury. If he can come back and play just a fraction of what he played when he was fully fit, this team's going to be fantastic. And their O-line's always good. They always seem to be able to craft together a good O-line. They make good picks. So it's just they're in a tough division against the Bucs, but outside of that, the Falcons and the Panthers, they're not tough teams. So I would not, on the NFC side of it, given how it's very top heavy, and then everybody else, the Saints could really push for a good playoff run there. Then we'll move on to the Munich game, being at the Bayern Munich in Germany, the debut of the German game, the Seattle Seahawks against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on November 13th. Obviously, a lot of people, when they heard that, it was like, we could have had Russell Wilson and Tom Brady in Munich in the Allianz Arena.
Who needs them when you got Drew Lock, Freddie?
Drew Lock against Fox Sports' new signee, Tom Brady. So clearly has an eye on the future post NFL. Well, it's great for Germany to go to, our friends over the continent to get a game finally. They have been coming here in their droves for years to come and watch games, and they've been really great supporters. I remember in the first games I went to, they were bringing over under 14s, the whole team here to come and watch games, and it was really a trip obviously to another country, but to make a whole event of it. And I'm really pleased that Munich has got this in Allianz Arenas. We've seen it on television, obviously, with Bayern Munich and the countless finals and everything that they've been in. So I can imagine that's going to be a fantastic game there now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well said. It is a terrific fan base over there, and I've been fortunate enough to meet quite a lot of the German NFL fans when they've come over to Wembley or Spurs or Twickenham, of course, back a few years ago. So it's only right, I think, that they have a game given that fan base. I mean, London has proved to be a very important gateway for certainly Europe. It might be overreaching to say the rest of the world, though I do think there's some credence in that as well, because it was the blueprint, I guess, for certainly amongst a key part of the blueprint for the NFL being comfortable with playing more and more games internationally. And I hear a lot, I'm sure you do on your show, from British fans dotted around the country who are frustrated that the games are always in London. And I get that as well. And then might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, 3 in London again and now 1 in Germany. And what about, insert city here? And I get that too. And I think what I would say to those fans is the more that the NFL comes over and is spread internationally, and the more actually that games are held in Germany, in different parts of the world, the better chances that they will be able to hold a game in Glasgow or in Manchester or, wherever it might be, because it just continues to embed this principle of we're comfortable doing this. That was always the problem with the NFL making the decision to take games over. You've got to sell it to the owners, and you got to get the right owners on board, and everything's got to feel as fluent and as cohesive and as much continuity as possible. Otherwise, I think, well, why the hell would I go and do this, even if it's going to make me a few bucks? So I think it's a good thing all around. Cannot wait. But as I say, most importantly of all, Drew Lock. That's what I'm going to wear my Lock jersey. Listeners to my show will know, particularly the Edge Rush show, that we are Drew Lock fans. We're definitely going to be getting some interviews lined up with Lock. I almost hope he is third on the depth chart by that point. I'm hoping.
Baker, Gino, Drew. Yeah. Would that be
Baker, Gino, Drew? It's a bit like sometimes when you're at some Super Bowls. Well, I guess a lot of Super Bowls you have a good player access, but some of the events, like things like opening nights are crazy, increasingly crazy, and out. You get the Brady's of this world, kind of the big podiums. They're just mobbed. Everyone wants to talk to them. He can maybe able to sneak in a question. They're going to works down. There's sort of big names. Gronk could be there. Fournette, the big names would be in the mix. I'm just riffing on the Bucks here, but insert whichever players. The big stars. Then you've got all the other players that are just milling around. That's a free for all. They're in this kind of scrum, and everyone piles up. That is just mad to watch, particularly if you collar like the long snapper or the third string quarterback, and just often you get the best interviews with them as well. But if you baffle them, they're thinking, why the hell is this crew talking to me? So yeah, that's how I'm going to play the whole Drew Lock situation in Germany.
Sounds like the long game. If you sow the seed now, then you should have flowers by November, right? So
exactly. We've got Propo, Ollie the producer, working on it now. That's his number one. Well, TikTok's his number one priority. We're still not on TikTok, but his number one priority is working on the Drew Lock interview in October or November. Yeah, right, November.
Smashing. Well, hopefully he doesn't get stage fright if it ever does come around. And then obviously we've got the Mexico City game as well. San Francisco 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals, which geologically wise, it's only across the border from America. That's going to be a fantastic game as well. San Francisco, it always tends to be a California team that plays there just for the connection with Mexico. So that I'm sure will be a fantastic game as well. But we'll gloss over that. Seems as that is still far over the water from us as well. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL draft. It only happened a couple of weeks ago. Trayvon Walker going to number one pick Jacksonville. Obviously, like I said, with the games that are coming over, we're going to see a lot of the first rounders perform at Wembley and at Tottenham. And I mean, what a night, Nat. I mean, it felt like beforehand the draft was this. There's no great star in this draft. They're all pretty. There's some great players, but we kept saying depth. Like depth is written all over this draft. And then this draft became one of the most exciting drafts in the most recent history, with the movement, the trades. I mean, Marquise Hollywood Brown being traded, AJ Brown being traded as well. Teams moving up on the board, players falling, players rising. Trayvon Walker being the number one pick with only about 2 weeks before the draft was about to happen. It was really heavily rumored he'd go maybe in top 10. I mean, what a night for you, Nat. Obviously, you watched the whole thing, stayed up, but like, were you just as excited as all of us? Do you find, even though you do these things as a presenter, and it's obviously your job and everything like that, and you do detailed articles and you're very much involved in the NFL world, do you take them moments sometimes while watching these to be sort of a fan and be just mesmerized by it and going, oh God, I can't believe this is happening, and texting friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's something I really try and do a lot, particularly with the London games and things like this, obviously the Super Bowl. And it's easier said than done, but it's something that I have taught myself to do, is to take a moment, usually, like about an hour into the broadcast, because a lot of the heavy lifting for those shows is done at the top, the pre-game, the build-up. Once you're up and running, I mean, it's NFL, unlike football, which I've done a fair bit of in my time, and obviously basketball. Latterly, I'm doing quite a lot of that's a little bit more structured, because it is, exactly the bits you're doing on the show. But the NFL, particularly on the BBC, are coming back in vision all the time when there's commercial breaks, and you got to kind of have your wits about. You can't exhale too much, but I always try about an hour in to do that, just to stop and look around and look and see who I'm working with, look out at all the fans, just soak up the fact we've got another game in London as a fan, let alone I am privileged enough to be involved with the broadcast and to be doing it. And it's important to do that. There's an American comedian, writer, podcaster, documentary maker called Adam Carolla, who I'm sure a lot of your listeners would know, sort of real pioneer on the podcast front. And Carolla is somebody I have a huge amount of respect for as an artist. I don't altogether agree with some of his political views, but as an artist, I really do. And he talks a lot of sense with when he says that he reminds himself when he's out, on the road, say he does quite a lot of live stand-up as well. And he's on the road and he's knackered and he's got to get to a gig, and, he's got to get to the airport and it's 7:30. He's tired and he's angsty, and he just stops himself and says, I used to be a struggling, 9-to-5 gig, hated it. This is what I always wanted. So why am I being miserable about this? Suck it up. It's an incredible opportunity. And I think that's something that sticks in my mind a lot, that whenever I get a bit knackered or a bit, remind yourself. So with regards to that, absolutely, I try and soak it in. You'll love this though, Freddie. And I'm somebody that is, will wear my heart on my sleeve and not try too many smoke and mirrors. So the aforementioned basketball gig I've got is with Sky Sports, right? And we had a really, really early start on the Friday. Plus, I had to record a pod for our show with the brilliant Ben Isaacs, college days guru Ben Isaacs, right? So I stayed up as late as I could for the draft. I was meant to be doing it for radio for TalkSport. I've done that before over, the whole night, but couldn't for those reasons, right? I had previous broadcast commitments, I had a live show and all kinds of other filming the next day, right? So so I thought, I've got to stay up. So, so stayed up and stayed up to about 9 or 10 picks. And then Greg, I mean, you couldn't make it up. And so I set my alarm at about 3-4 hours sleep. I wanted to watch everything else, watch it in real time on the app. And as it was unfolding in the morning, I was like, oh, you are kidding me. You're kidding me. It's like, it's almost the equivalent of going to sleep just before Will Smith bowled on stage and hit Chris Rock. If you watch the Oscars, it's boring.
Or one better for you. A friend of mine slept, and another friend on the same night went home at halftime for the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl.
I kid you not, and apologies if listeners who maybe listen to my show have heard me tell the story a million times. I was at that game, and I saw a family of 4, so mum, dad, kids, all in Brady jerseys, leaving about 3 minutes into the third quarter, and getting out of that stadium. Like, it's not as if. I mean, I like to look at the glass half full there and think, they're watching it obviously on their phones or keeping an eye on it on social media. Like, oh my God. And they found a bar, they found somewhere, but I just have this horrible feeling that they didn't, and they missed it all. They got back to the hotel and what's happened? The vetties coming
with the amount of traffic and things like that. Or maybe even in America, people just drive home. They don't care about the long drives, don't they? Sometimes. And
maybe they're trying to back to home. Oh no. Oh boy. The kids will never forgive them. Never forgive them for that.
Not at all. Forget embarrassing photos and stuff like that on your 18th birthday. Being told that you got taken away at half-time. It's gut-wrenching. Obviously, when we talk about draft, your Miami Dolphins, for once, didn't have first-round pick, second-round pick.
75 picks,
early pick. And you can't be angry about that because you gave away all your picks for Tyreek Hill, the cheater. You have a 5-draft pick, gave me huge contract alongside that as well.
Yeah.
But a little bit, just a moment on your Miami Dolphins. How happy were you with the Tyreek trade? I mean, that is it's a fantastic signing with all the movement of wide receivers, the wide receiver merry-go-round that we've had this offseason, as well as the other signs you've had. Sony Michel in the last few days, Tyrone Armstead, Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds. Seems to be a bit of a running theme of running backs here.
Obviously going to run the ball quite a lot.
How are you feeling about your Dolphins after the whole of the offseason?
Well, we needed to re-up the ground game. Obviously, was a massive weakness. I love the faith that's being shown in Tua. I'm a big Tua apologist, and actually to the point earlier on, he hasn't had enough time and he's been injured, and I still didn't, and I love Flores, and I was gutted when Flores left, and so I say that with respect that I didn't agree with the pinch hitting of Fitz in Tua's rookie season, and I get in certain situations, Mariota obviously most recently when certain Taysom Hill, certain quarterbacks you bring in for, I get that, but it just felt more than that. It felt that, okay, you can't get this done, kid. We're going to bring in, fairness. I think that's going to dent his confidence a little bit. So I think Tua's got a lot to give. I clearly the organization feels that way. I think you could argue, well, whoever you marry with Tyreek Hill is going to look good, but I think it's a statement of serious intent what they've done with their offense, the fact that they believe in him, and I'm really intrigued, of course, to see this offensive direction and this new direction. As I said, really disappointed that Flores is gone, but really excited about what's going to come next. And friends of mine that are big on the 49ers are just loving that move and what we are looking to do. And I will be happy with that. Of course, like any fan, any of your listeners, you want to win it all. But and maybe this is the West Ham way in me, but I would rather, well, I'm going to be careful what I say here. I'd rather play well and never win a Super Bowl, but I would be very happy with a team that is bubbling around a wild card spot if it's playing razzle dazzle stuff and is, in shootouts and turning it on, as opposed to an attritional what are we now, 10-8 team, 10-7 team that is eking in and then going out sort of 24-6 to the Titans in the first round. So I like it. I like what they've done, and the draft was as a result almost pointless to me to comment on, because everyone loves to pretend there's some kind of sage like draft pick, and Skylar Thompson was quite a fascinating pick, I think. But I mean, Cameron Good, a round 7 backer. I love the fact that you see players all the time that are late round picks that roll into a great career. But come on, does anyone really know about most picks in the draft right now?
No, it's a complete lottery.
It's a complete lottery. So I don't know. I suppose your question is a great one. Am I happy that they moved away from draft capital to land players that can do it now? Yeah, I think I am, considering we've been in the diametric opposite mode for the last God knows how many years. So yeah, I like it.
But do you think, because the Dolphins are a good example of this, and there's definitely something in the NFL at the minute where we were just saying the college players, it is a lottery, and it is a lottery for their greatness of how high their ceiling can be. But the boom or bust, if you want to call it boom or bust, though some people hate that term, a lot of college players are really good now.
Yes,
and we're seeing teams sort of turn it all around quite quickly. Your Dolphins is a team that's done that. The Lions look like they've got a culture thing going on. The Jets, if you look at their roster,
loved what they're doing.
It's not bad. Do you think it's more than ever that there can be this rotation? We've seen it with the Bengals going to the Super Bowl in 2 years again, Joe Burrow. Do you think, when it's a big sporting cliche that anyone can win it, obviously, but is there some truth to that in a way with the NFL, with how it can flip for these teams?
I think that's a terrific point. Absolutely. You look at how the game has changed offensively, particularly, in the last 5 or so years, for all kinds of reasons. But obviously the adoption of offensive looks that are broader than ever before and play to a certain type of player that perhaps wouldn't have been a starter as a quarterback or even a receiver or a success as either of those positions, 10 years ago, right? So absolutely look at receiver as a position that historically was almost if not the toughest, then one of the toughest to hit the ground running in. You look at how many rookie receivers are having an impact to the degree they are straight away. Quarterbacks, similarly, rookie quarterbacks rarely as a quarterback have a good rookie season, but the sophomore year and the bounce and how quick that jump is as well. Hello, Joe Burrow, right? So yes, for sure. I think that's a terrific point. And it's interesting on the whole all-in mentality, because I do think it's not like it's anything new, right? This idea of, well, I've got a contending team, I'm gonna get X, Y, and Z player now, give up the future because I think I can win now. It's not as if that suddenly occurred to front offices around the league. And, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. I love that opening scene of Draft Day when it's basically the whole of Draft Day is based on the Seahawks, I think it is, saying, what should we do with the number 1 pick, like on draft on the morning of Draft Day? So I don't think it's like the penny is dropped per se, but it's fascinating to watch more and more teams rolling the dice there. And I wonder why that is. Is it as simple as it's a copycat league and they had success? I think it's different. I think it's different. I think it's a sense of, do we want to? I always remember the Andy Reid Eagles teams. Do you want to be a perennial playoff team, like Arsene Wenger, Arsenal latterly? Just Champions League, but you never win it, or do you just want to forget 12 years of relative success? I want to just go and get it all now. And if that
12 years are nearly there, we'll beat that one time that you win it.
Yeah. So that seems to be the shift. And I'm not sure Miami. I mean, the flip side of that is what Tennessee have done or allowed to happen, right? That suggests to me that they're very much, which I think is a real mistake. I know that AJ Brown wanted a serious dollars and cents, but why wouldn't you give that money to him now? I mean, I guess
because they drafted the guy, which on the night they said our comparison is AJ Brown.
Yes, right. Yeah. Trey, okay.
Not have been written any better.
Yeah, that's true. Traylon Bucks will now go for 1,700 yards and 27 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. I think that's a really good point with that, where it feels like they hit the destruct button a little bit. But if you're Tennessee Titans, you're maybe thinking, well, yeah, our time was now, and Derrick Henry got really hurt last year. Running backs would tend to get hurt, at least, for a good portion of time. That tends to repeat itself more often than not. Maybe they just did as well. Well, this is, we take Malik Willis, we'll start the reset. We've got some good bones in here. We know our coach is great, and we'll just pick ourselves up. I think less teams are doing the full reset and now are just sort of clearing the cap space to then build it back up again. And the problem is, again, like I said, with the college players and how good they are, the turnaround can be so quick. You can just be poor for 2 or 3 years, be in that top draft bracket in the top 10 picks or whatever. Get some few stars, get some good draft picks, and then you never really went away in a way. But like I said, but like you said, is it more fun for 5 years in the trot, getting to the playoffs and nearly getting there, maybe getting to the championship? I mean, the team that comes to mind is the Green Bay Packers. They go to the NFC Championship every year, but the last time they won the Super Bowl was a while ago now. What is better? So
I think the difference with them is that in most of those years, they've been viable contender. Well, some might argue that they haven't, their records are deceptive, but because of Rodgers being a viable contender, you wouldn't have been surprised they'd made the Super Bowl. But then you get those teams that just kind of eke in. You think there's no chance you'll win. Actually, I think the playoffs last season were perhaps the most wide open in that respect. Like most teams you could have made a case for, from the wild card round. That okay, if you're in this, the Bengals are a great example of that. Right? If you make the Super Bowl, would we be surprised? And but yeah, I do think there's a difference between a team that is really close to getting it done, which is obviously where the Rams felt they were, versus maybe the Titans. Maybe I'm overstating their credentials as Super Bowl contenders and more of a kind of making up the numbers in the playoffs. Yeah,
I think that is a very fair argument to have. But it's going to be hopefully a very good rest of the offseason. I bet you've got lots going on this summer, Nat, obviously with your basketball stuff, Nat Coombs Show, all the stuff you do for us as NFL UK fans, and we do thank you for it. When we talk about NFL UK, you're on the first faces that we all, as UK fans, think of. So we really appreciate all the hard work you put into make game day so great for us, and for all your hard work you've done to progress NFL UK over here for years.
Oh, thank you, Fred. I really appreciate you saying that, and loving what you guys are doing as well. Keep rolling. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
No worries at all. Thank you very much. And for your franchise tag fans out there, we're going to have more of these sort of mini series, I suppose, throughout the summer as well. Lots of things coming to the franchise tag podcast. More hosts than ever. 2 years ago, it was just me on my own, Nat, and now we suddenly have a team, which I never thought we'd ever have.
But loving that.
We've got a really nice, bright future. Obviously, we've got all of next season to look forward to, but we've got a lot going on this summer. So make sure you check us out, and we'll see you all very soon. Take it easy.